Men barely held on for a 94-91 win over Serbia. They had been tested now in their last 2 games since that opener against China. Things have gotten very, very tight. Here's what I mean as you look at just a 3-point victory for Coach K and company. If this is a stock in terms of margin of victory, it is trending down. 57 against China, as I mentioned, then holding on against Australia, a game in which they trailed at the half, and then barely holding off Serbia today in a 1-possession game. They'll finish out group play on Sunday, the Americans will, against France.
You're the first basketball player to represent the USA in 4 Olympic Games.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Does that make you feel old?
When you think about it,
None of your contemporaries are doing it. You know, no. LeBron's not here, and Kobe and Dwayne Wade. They didn't, and you did. Why?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I like it. I enjoy learning about different players, personalities, not just the basketball players, but as people. And I feel like I'm kind of that bridge, that gap, you know, between the veterans and the young guys that's a part of the team.
You are, in many respects, the face right now of social activism this summer,
yeah.
in the wake of everything that has happened.
I didn't plan it to be like that. It wasn't a plan. It's just something that happened. Like it was very authentic. It was very genuine. Because I could have spoke out plenty of times of other things that's been going on, but a lot of times you just want to wait, and just see what comes natural.
I know that you spent some of your childhood in Baltimore. You marched in the Freddie Gray protests. You had been involved in ads for gun control, but you had never gone to the extent that you did with your Instagram post.
Yeah.
What is it that sparked that particular moment where you sat there privately and said, you know what, I just can't help it, I have to say something?
I really don't know. I was watching the news and I just got tired of seeing it, and I'm just like started typing and before you know it, that Instagram post went up.
Why do you think that it resonated with so many people?
I think people were surprised at the fact that an athlete of my stature stepped up to the plate and said something. A lot of times with athletes, we are kind of afraid sometimes of speaking out on different issues, and I think it's the platform for us to say something. We needed our voice to be out there. The urgency to create change is at an all-time high.
You were the impetus, the opening of the ESPYs. What were those conversations like as you brought LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Paul to the stage?
Well, it was, we have a group chat, and, they actually was like, we need to do something. Like, Melo, you called us out. We have your back. We support you. We need to figure this out.
You also, with some of your Olympic teammates, to continue the conversation, or maybe start the conversation, right, in LA, you had a forum. Who was there, and what do you think was accomplished?
Well, both men and women USA basketball teams was there. We had police chiefs, from that area in LA. We had kids, from the Boys and Girls Club that's down there. We had,
South Central LA.
South Central LA. We had community leaders. We had activists. We had just all type of people there. And for me, it was more it wasn't about a quote-unquote town hall. It was more about a conversation with the youth and putting those to the youth and, the police officers and letting them hear each other out, and a lot of times that's where the disconnect comes in at, because the police don't hear what the youth is talking about. The youth don't want to hear what the police is talking about because it's a distrust and it's a disconnect.
What were both sides saying? What did you take away from it and say, wow, this group learned this?
I was more like educated at the fact that some of the officers that was there was like, we've never heard this before. We embrace kind of these conversations. We want more of these conversations. We need more of these conversations. So I was more kind of shocked that they didn't know, and the stories that was being told to the police, about some personal stories, police brutality thing. I had a kid in my group who just was shot by police a couple weeks before that. And for him to step up and actually look in the face of a police officer and say, I don't trust you. Like that right there was like, oh.
Powerful.
Yeah, it was like, wow. But we got past that, and it was a great conversation between those two people. And for me, that was like, okay, I did my job. I did my job, but I needed that. I wanted that. I wanted the kid to look the police in the eyes and say, we don't trust you. I don't trust you, and why I don't trust you.
What did you share from your personal experience with those kids?
Well, I mean, I grew up in that. I've seen police brutality before, and I've experienced police brutality, not at that high level, but I've experienced it before. And for me, it was just easy for me to tell that story because that's what's going on right now.
What do you think needs to happen going forward to really affect true change? Because your point is the system's broken, and that's what we've got to fix.
Yeah, my opinion is we have to put more emphasis on the school systems, education, in-home education, different programs, educational programs, whether it's more rec centers, whether it's more Boys and Girls Clubs, we need more initiatives, for kids to take advantage of. And we need to be educated. We need to educate our youth because right now it's a major disconnect. And another point that I was making in that conversation was the police. I mean, you have to abide by the law. You're not the law. I mean, at the end of the day, and they was very receptive, to knowing that.
How committed are you to continuing this?
I'm committed. And we got to get our youth back, out the streets. We got to get the community feeling back. And we need police to do that. I mean, we need them to protect and serve, but we also need them to kind of build these bonds back into the community because it's lost right now.
How familiar are you as you go into the Olympics with the Black Power salute, with what Tommy Smith and John Carlos did?
I'm very, very aware of that. That's a very powerful image. I actually have that picture. As soon as you walk in my house, I have that picture there.
Really?
Yeah, and this was way before any of this was going on. But I just look at that moment and the way that they seized that moment. It's a backstory to the guy from Australia that's in that picture too, that was going through something in Australia.
He supported them.
He supported them, and a lot of people don't know that story.
And he suffered consequences.
And he suffered consequences back in Australia. So that's another story that I think needs to be told because while we were going through something in our own country, he was going through something in his country. So it wasn't just about us, it was about the whole world.
That was in 1968. Think about that.
Yeah. And here we are, 2016, and still going through the same thing.
As you go to the Olympics and the platform becomes bigger and bigger, have you thought about using the Olympic platform?
I've honestly thought about it. I just don't have the answers to what should be done. And then I'll sit back and I'll also say, okay, this is the biggest platform. The whole world is watching. What better way than to make a statement than it is to go out there and win a gold medal and become united. That's bigger than any other protest that we can possibly do on that stage.
What sense did you get seeing KD for this first appearance there at Oracle, and now you've seen him play with Draymond and Clay, about how that's going to go?
Well, I think they'll have an adjustment period. There's no question about it. Playing with KD is fun. I've coached him twice. This will be the third time I've coached him, and actually I almost made the Beijing team as a young guy from the select team. He's been that good. He's been with us the 11 years, and I see him grow. He's even better now because he's very competitive, a little bit more vocal, and is a good teammate. And that night I wanted it to be special for him because he's very sensitive, and he wants everyone to not necessarily like him, but respect him and think highly of him. So that decision knocked him back, I think, a little bit. And we've been talking.
The criticism that he engendered by deciding to go with the Warriors.
Yeah, one thing I told him, I said, when you're really good, you're going to be criticized, and you're going to be hated by a certain amount of people. Just if you win and if you're really good. That, you might get 50 letters and 49 of them say how much they love you. Don't let the one letter ruin it. But we do a lot of times until you get a kind of immune to that. I said, so that's what you're going through now. And a lot of people are not going to like you because of the decision you made. I said, do you like the decision? He says, yes, I do. I said, well, all right. You don't have to answer to anyone else. Just let's get over this. I thought that night helped him get over it.
You know that from being at Duke.
I know.
You understand
I know
that.
what being loved and being hated, and with people not even knowing you. I know that, and thank goodness, because that means we've won. But we've always respected the game and people, and I did tell Katie this. You know what? Even the people who say they do not like you, they respect you. And if they don't, they're knuckleheads, because then they don't respect excellence. And you know what, man? You are excellent. You're the best. So if someone doesn't like that, that's cool. But they should respect you. And that's what a competitive person should want, that respect.
Expected to roll. They got a tougher than expected test. The U.S. women's soccer team fell. The United States men barely held on for a 94-91 win over Serbia. They had been tested now in their last two games since that opener against China. Things have gotten very, very tight. Here's what I mean as you look at just a 3-point victory for Coach K and company. If this is a stock in terms of margin of victory, it is trending down. 57 against China, as I mentioned, then holding on against Australia, a game in which they trailed at the half, and then barely holding off Serbia today in a one-possession game. They'll finish out group play on Sunday, the Americans will, against France.
They have reason to celebrate now. They're welcoming back Carmelo Anthony and his new look Knicks to the Q. So I talked to Melo earlier as he prepares to fight for playoff position this season in the Eastern Conference. And now the challenges that he faces as the leader in Rio right now.
I think just realizing that every game is a different experience that we will experience. And we had 3 games so far. Each game was totally different, different experience. Well, we'll get better. I thought last night against Australia was a good test for us. The style of the game, the style of play, playing against a great team with, some other, NBA guys, or a team who's been together for multiple years. And so it's good for us, a team who just came together over the past couple of weeks, and, we're still trying to figure things out.
And this week alone, you passed Michael Jordan, David Robinson, and LeBron James on Team USA's all-time scoring list. You're sitting on top of that list. What is it that's allowed you to be so successful in this international competition?
Well, it's just a game of adjustments. Over here, it causes me to adjust my game to a different level and a different style of play. It's not that much kind of individual pressure on myself being alongside of, the greatest players in the world. So it kind of makes my job easier.
I've got to talk to you about your new look, New York Knicks, as well, the addition of the former MVP, Derrick Rose. What are your expectations for him and what could be called a comeback?
I expect him to have a great season. I think sometimes in life we need change, and with change comes happiness, comes joy, bringing the fun back to the game of basketball. I think for him it's, he's that guy who, will have fun playing the game of basketball again. He don't have to worry about injuries and things of that nature. And I just want him to get back to, just playing basketball, being the Derrick Rose that everybody fell in love with him, and just having fun. For me, with him, it's just more about just having fun with the game of basketball.
Just a couple of seasons ago, you all were headed to Cleveland in what at the time was a celebration of LeBron James returning home. And now on opening night, it's going to look a little bit different. They're celebrating a championship. That's going to be an emotionally charged matchup. What are your expectations for opening night?
Well, I think for both teams, it's definitely going to be an emotional charge, situation for Cleveland. I'm pretty sure they'll be getting their rings that night. And for us to be able to go in there and have that experience and, play them on their home court opening night, we'll be ready. If you don't like these situations, then something is wrong with you. And I embrace them, and we will embrace this situation.
Well, and I think situations that you also like, Christmas Day, you are once again headlining, this time hosting the Boston Celtics. What do you see, though, as success for the Knicks this season?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to put no expectations on. I never do. Like I said, we want to enjoy this season. We want to have fun with, playing the game of basketball. And we want to win. I mean, last year we had a solid season to start off with, and then some injuries went against us, and we was fighting an uphill battle. But it seems like now we have a new team, new faces, new coach. So it's a lot of excitement, within our organization, within the city of New York. I'm pretty sure the fans are excited about that. And as players, we're excited to kind of just be back, and where we're supposed to be at in the game of basketball.
And another new face and a former Bull, Joakim Noah, he's headed home. What does he bring to your franchise?
Energy, tenacity, and excitement, toughness. I think he's been waiting for kind of this stage all his life. This platform all his life, being from New York, coming back home, this is what he lived for.
Melo, thank you so much for taking the time. Keep killing it in Rio and bring home the gold.
Thank you. I appreciate everything.
In Queens. All right, you know you're good when one of your players outscores an entire country in a quarter when playing in basketball at the Olympics. The second quarter today saw Maya Moore of the United States with 8 points and Team Canada finish with 6 points combined. The U.S. cruising by 30 points today over our great neighbors to the north with an 81-51 score. And the U.S. is looking for more gold, while the silver lining for Canada, even with the loss today, they're still moving on to the medal round. As you take a look at what Team USA has been able to do, they'll end group play against China at 11:15 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. Much like the men who have been challenged here recently, including a 3-point win earlier tonight, the United States women have not. Their closest game, a 26-point squeaker. Overall, they've won by more than 40 per game. And let's talk a little bit more about that second quarter that I just referenced with Maya Moore. She joins us on SportsCenter tonight after that 30-point win. All right, Maya, so we mentioned 18-16 after one. In comes the second quarter. Just to reiterate, second quarter scoring. Maya Moore 8, Team Canada 6. It was tight in the first. What happened in the second quarter?
Well, the start of the game is always intense. Both teams are ready to go, full of energy, ready to throw that first punch. But one of our strengths as a team is we like to wear people down. So that second quarter, we can get kind of a second wave going. And, hopefully we put it on the other team in that fashion. So second quarters have been really good to us. Our defense was great, just trying to create a little chaos, be disruptive. And I was just trying to be aggressive, whether that was getting a steal or teammates finding me in the post. So it was a fun quarter for us.
That indeed it was. Your stat line was amazing, 12, 8, 4, and 2. I want to talk about another one of your teammates that's been playing outstanding in this tournament that maybe isn't getting some of the attention, and that's Diana Taurasi. She now has 18 three-pointers through all of your games at this particular point. What can you say about her level of play?
She's just such a player that gives us confidence, and when she's playing like that, it really gives us a little cushion to continue with our run. But love playing with her for this limited amount of time that we're actually teammates.
Indeed, yes, that's right. 45 in a row now for you guys. And it bears worth repeating here because you guys are always winning by large margins. And I heard Gino say the other day, the biggest challenge is getting everybody into games. He was completely serious about that. Canada is one of the top 10 teams in the world. I believe they were 9th heading in to the Olympic Games. What does that say? I mean, knocking off country here, knocking off a country there is one thing, but this was a thorough domination of one of the best teams in the world.
Well, yeah, it's not an easy task. I know sometimes people can take a peek at the scoreboard and think and assume we just show up with our uniforms and we get a 30-point blowout. It takes a lot of effort and focus and intensity on the part of every single player on our team, 1 through 12. We feel like every team has absolutely a great starting 5, but when it comes down to 6 through 12, we feel we have that advantage. So we eventually wear on teams. You win this 5 minutes, you win that 5 minutes, you win the next 5 minutes, and you look up and you're up by 30. So it's definitely something that we want to do. We want to win and play as best as we can. but it's not as easy as we make it look.
No question about it. Both you and Canada, as I did mention, will also move on to the medal round. So you guys are now moving on. One team that will not be moving on to the medal round, before I let you go, I got to ask this. So much domination for you guys, the men's team, and the women's soccer team was also put in that particular category. Up until these games, they had never not played in the gold medal match in women's soccer. Now they won't medal. I know you were getting ready for your game, but surely you heard about this. What's the buzz out there?
Yeah, we were keeping up, and we were in the locker room, and it was about maybe 1 or 2 minutes before Coach was coming in to give his pregame talk, and we were watching the TV, and he comes in, and we're like peeking around the corner, like wait, don't turn it off, and he turns it off. So we didn't get to see the end, but we were keeping up. We heard when they tied it, and we were cheering for him, but coming into the locker room and hearing that they lost, with the kicks at the end it was heartbreaking, and it just goes to show you how precious these opportunities are, and nothing's guaranteed. And soccer it's different than basketball, so it's just tough. It's really, really tough, and it's going to be a part of their story and their journey going into the future. But we're proud of them, and they've represented well.
Yep, their run will come to a premature end. To the surprise of nobody, your run continues. China on Sunday, perhaps another gold medal in sight. To many, it seems like just a formality. Maya, thanks, and best of luck on Sunday.
All right. Thanks, guys.
What sense did you get seeing KD for this first appearance there at Oracle, and now you've seen him play with Draymond and Clay, about how that's going to go?
Well, I think they'll have an adjustment period. There's no question about it. Playing with KD is fun. I've coached him twice. This will be the third time I've coached him, and actually I almost made the Beijing team as a young guy from the select team. He's been that good. He's been with us the 11 years, and I see him grow. He's even better now because he's very competitive, a little bit more vocal, and is a good teammate. And that night I wanted it to be special for him because he's very sensitive, and he wants everyone to not necessarily like him, but respect him and think highly of him. So that decision knocked him back, I think, a little bit. And we've been talking.
The criticism that he engendered by deciding to go with the Warriors.
Yeah, one thing I told him, I said, when you're really good, you're going to be criticized, and you're going to be hated by a certain amount of people. Just if you win, and if you're really good, that you might get 50 letters and 49 of them say how much they love you. Don't let the one letter ruin it. But we do a lot of times until you get a kind of immune to that. I said, so that's what you're going through now. And a lot of people are not going to like you because of the decision you made. I said, do you like the decision? He says, yes, I do. I said, well, all right. You don't have to answer to anyone else. Just let's get over this. I thought that night helped him get over it.
You know that from being at Duke.
I know.
You understand
I know
that.
what being loved and being hated, and with people not even knowing you. I know that, and thank goodness, because that means we've won. But we've always respected the game and people, and I did tell Katie this. You know what? Even the people who say they do not like you, they respect you. And if they don't, they're knuckleheads, because then they don't respect excellence. And you know what, man? You are excellent. You're the best. So if someone doesn't like that, that's cool. But